Hey, Frank Thomas here. This is a part 2 to a previous video. You've got to make sure that you watch the first video, which is named Why Is It So Hard to Save Part 1? Because we're going to be going over the 5 questions or the 5 topics that I believe are really things that are going to stop you from saving. What I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be looking at tricks you can do, tips, strategies you can do to maximize your efforts in saving it, because I'd like it, at the end of the day you gotta save. If you want to, you got one of two ways to put $1 million into your bank account. A is to win the lottery, and B is to save. And I'll tell you something, if you save, the chances of you getting that $1 million greatly are enhanced. If you're hoping for Lady Luck to bless you and love you, good luck on that one. Stay tuned. So hard to save. We did look at that in the first video, and the first point we looked at was we're working without a budget. And I mentioned it a bit in the first video, but the biggest tip I can give you here is keep your budget simple, 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 simple. Don't make it complicated. Don't think you got to go buy, Microsoft Money or some program or QuickBooks or Intuit, or it doesn't matter. All you need, you can do it with a pad, for crying out loud. I recommend using Google Drive because you can put it in, and I'd recommend build your budget based upon your weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, 2 times a month, however you get paid. We get paid monthly. I pay the budget based upon a monthly basis. Now, you're going to have bills that need to spread across multiple paychecks. All you got to do is go to the bank, get a secondary free, 9 times out of 10 it's free or very inexpensive savings account. And if you've got to save capital, let's say you got to have the rent at the beginning of the next month. And let's say you get paid on the 15th and you get paid on the 30th. What happens is on the 15th, you take half your rent out then and put it into that savings account. You take the other half at the end of the month and you put it in the savings account, and you can e-transfer it to your landlord or a check or whatever it is, put it back in your account, give them a check. Your rent's paid. I have to do that for one of my bills. So easy. Don't make this a hurdle to you getting a big bank account, because that's just no excuse. As simple as possible. This does not have to be complicated. As you learn more and you become more confident in your saving abilities, we can become more complicated and build you a stronger budget, build you a stronger savings plan, or you can do it, and it's not hard, because you'll find that knowledge, that's get built layer upon layer. So don't try to eat the whole elephant, so to speak. Let's just go one bite at a time. So set up a simple budget and do it today, okay? Failing to set goals. This is actually one that you don't realize. You hear all the time, oh, you need to set goals. And we talked about this again in the first video. I think it was silly to set goals until, to me, you need to set a goal and look forward at your money. See where your money's taking you, how much you're saving every day today, see what it looks like in 5 years, and 10 years, and 15 years. Well, a very short window, so I only have 5 more years before I hit 65. So I've made it my goal that at 65, I have enough in that account that it's a non-depleting fund. So in other words, I can live off of the dividends and the interest or the gain, and I never deplete the original money that was in there. So a non-depleting, and it's even a bit of a gaining account, it will allow me to keep up with inflation as time goes on. So set up that goal, and wow, what a difference it made. It allowed me to see what's my minimum level of saving today, because you get to tomorrow by stepping through today. You can't get to tomorrow until you step through today, and you got to step through all 365 of those days. And for the old saying, eat an apple a day, keep the doctor away. And in saving is exactly the same thing. You just don't all of a sudden have $1 million. If you're hoping the lottery is going to give it to you, that's a big mistake. So what you need to do is you need to set goals. Hey, you can have goals intermittently. Like I made a goal that I would save $100,000 in 2 years, and I saved $100,000 in 14 months. Why? It's because I had a goal and I wanted to meet that goal, and it looked pretty audacious when I started, because I'm like, how the daylights am I going to save? Still, I'm thinking about it. Even at 2 years, I got to save close to $5,000 a month. because over 24 months, like, starts approaching what I need to have, or I think maybe 4,000 or 5,000 a month. I didn't have in the beginning. When I first started saving, I was able to save $500 a month. How in Dayless was I going to save $100,000 in 2 years? When I started, I didn't know. But let me tell you a little secret, and I say this all the time. The minute you decide and you set up a goal, even if it's a little audacious, this will conspire to help you out. If you don't have a goal, the universe is going to conspire to help you out, and it's not the way you want it to. So have a goal. Let's say if you want to join the FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early, and you want to be able to go live in Spain or do stuff or enjoy your family, then what happens is you set up a goal. In 10 years, I want to have this much saved, so this way I can have this lifestyle, etc., etc., etc. So you have to have these goals. And I actually recommend that you have short-term. My first short-term goal was to save $100,000 in 2 years. My second goal was to save $200,000, and I'm working away at that one. My end goal is to save at least $400,000 by the time I hit 65. That's the minimum. So that's what I'm working towards. And I hit a goal, I have a little party. Woohoo! My wife and I go out to have a nice supper. We put money aside for that. We enjoy it. We're like, yes, we're getting closer. We're right on target. Life is good. Okay, prepared for the unexpected. This is something that I covered a long time ago, and I'm so glad that I did, and that's having an emergency fund. And here that I have for you is, first and foremost, before you try to even start saving, is save $1,000. Put $1,000 aside. Now, is it going to cover if a transmission blows up? No. But is it going to cover a lot of little emergencies that could happen? Absolutely. Remember that as much as you would want to have insurance for your house in case it burns down, or emergency fund is the firewall to your finances. It's the first barrier of defense. And the idea behind that is something happens, you don't have to use Mr. Visa or Mr. MasterCard. So the tip here is save $1,000 first and foremost, even before you try to save any or pay any debt off. Save $1,000 and put it aside. That is not to be touched for anything but unexpected emergencies. If something planned comes up, you know you got to pay tuition for something, or you got to buy clothes or whatever, that is not an emergency. I'll preserve that emergency capital at all costs. Later, you want to save more. I thought that saving more than $5,000 in an emergency fund was smart, but I've discovered saving up to 3 months of what your take-home pay is brilliant, because you could have an emergency, like all of a sudden you're out of work. You got a paycheck coming in. Now you got to scramble to find another job. You got to scramble, and you got to take something you don't want. I had saved about 6 months between my business and my personal. I decided to quit contract because I was just very unhappy where I was. And the liberty and the freedom to take 3 months to find something else. I think it took me 4 months, and found something I really wanted to do. And I'm working with a great bunch of people now, and I'm really happy. If I did not have that emergency fund for this, like that emergency fund to cover me in case I was out of work for 6 months, there is no way on heaven and earth that I could have done that. With it, I was able to do that. So my tip here is save that first 1,000 as quickly as possible, but then work towards saving between 3 and 6 months of what your take-home pay is, and put it aside, and that's your emergency fund. Staying out of debt. The only tip that I can give you is pay debt off as quickly as possible, as long as you're saving something at the same time. I do not recommend all debt first before you start saving anything. I do not recommend, because time is such a potent force when it comes to saving, that you start saving, maybe less in the beginning, but you pay off debt at the same time, okay? I was working my little heart out in the beginning, paying off debt, and I was putting away, okay? I wasn't able to put away much, and I wasn't able to pay off much debt. But at the end of the day, I actually had saved up about $20,000, which actually propelled me on my $100,000 journey forward much faster, because I had saved that. And still paying debt off at the same time, but I had saved up a little bit at least, and it got kickstart when I wanted to save that $100,000. Stay out of debt. You got to do everything possible. The greatest tip I can give you is tell that gratification monster you want to go get something, and oh wow, I've always said if you went shopping and you were not planning to go buy that thing that you're looking at now and seriously considering, plan to go buy it, then you don't buy it. You say, thank you very much, Mr. Salesperson. And I'm going to tell you, salespeople can be very persuasive because they're working on your desires and your greeds and your wants, and very persuasive. And to say to yourself, no, N-O. That word is the magic word to wealth. No. I'm sorry, no, I can't do that today. When you in a position where you got to think about it, and also too, have a cool off period. It doesn't matter if it's $100 item or $1,000 item or a 10 cool off period. Say, oh yeah, look at that. I saw that in the store. It's this pen that never runs out of ink, but it's $50. Wow, that's really cool. Were you planning to buy that? Do you actually have the money in your indiscretionate, like your loose capital that you spend every month to buy that? Then no, then okay, go home and think about it. Gonna die if you didn't have it? Probably not. And you'd be amazed how much stuff you buy that you never use. So that's my tip for staying out of debt. Okay, excuses not to save money. Boy, this video I alluded to the fact that I wasted a lot of time making a whole lot of excuses. And the one thing, actually this is a two-pointer for you. 2 tips out of this one. The first one is, don't overcomplicate the process. Don't get into analysis paralysis. Into analysis paralysis for over 20 years. Commit yourself to a small action. I'm going to save $200 a month. Small action. Or $200 a month. This is my long-term saving. This is not saving for a car. This is not saving for a house. This is not saving for a new iPhone. This is saving for retirement. For me, one day in the future. Doing it. And it could just be in a simple savings account. Once you go to Questrade, you have to have at least $1,000. I had somebody say, oh, I can't save because Questrade have at least $1,000 to open up an account. And he's right, they do. Save up $1,000. Take 3 or 4 months and save it up into a savings account and then send it over to Questrade and set up your account, because you're gonna thank yourself later. Because you need to save money at the highest interest rate you can get, and you're not gonna get 5% bank account, at least not right now. In today's money right now, if you get between 0.2 and 2%, you're doing incredibly well. I know at EQ Bank, I have my fund sitting there, and it's a completely separate place to keep it safe. That's a tip for the emergency fund. Keep it safe. I'm only getting 2.5%, and that's the best I can get for it. Now, people can say, oh, well, you can put this here or you can put it there. This account, that account. They have it easily accessible, but not too easy. That excuse, and I said, no, I'm just going to put it there. When I want to set up my Questrade, I didn't have $1,000, but I didn't have $1,000, but can I, sell a few things around the house through Kijiji, and could I raise $1,000? Probably, and I did. And all of a sudden I raised another $1,000, and I opened up my TFSA and my RRSP with them. Okay. Use government sanctioned accounts to your benefit. In the States, that's the 401k and the Roth IRA. And in other countries, they have different names, but the same function. It allows you to save money either in a completely tax-exempt situation in the beginning or later down the road on the gains. So you want to take advantage of those. But you need to knock down all those excuses. You just got to get things done, and maybe you just do a small action. Every big plan is built upon small steps every day. Sometimes you're going to have investments that are going to blow up in your face and you're going to lose money on them. Do you stop and go, oh, this doesn't work, and this now becomes an excuse? And this was my excuse for a while, because I did an investment that I lost $10,000 on, and this is terrible. No, I just learned what not to invest into, and it's a hard lesson to learn, but it is a lesson you have to learn anyhow. I say to you, invest, stop making excuses. You can easily, anybody, I don't care what country you live in, can walk to the bank or even get on their banking app, set up that account, and you've got a separate account where you can start plunking a little bit of cash into. Oh, I don't have enough money to put $100 in. Well, put 20 bucks in, for crying out loud. Put 20 bucks in every paycheck. You know something? It adds up. and sat down, and I went to Hut the other night, and I got a supper just as a treat. And so the lady at the counter said, I got a question to ask you. Before I tell you what the question is though, have you subscribed to this channel yet? Take the time and subscribe. It really helps this channel out, and like the video if you think this is an excellent video. If it's helping you out and it helps you gain wealth, be sure to subscribe, like the video, and if you have any questions or comments, please do leave them. Okay, back to the question. I said, hey, let me ask you a question here. If I came in and wanted to, let's say, once a week come and deliver pizzas, okay, deliver meals for Pizza Hut, you know, drive around, deliver meals and she was like, oh, lunch or dinner? I said, well, dinner time. Dinner time's good. Okay. Now it's about a 3-4 hour shift tops. I do this as a young guy, and I used to make some brilliant money. She said, well, yeah, you should be able to make in a couple hours at least $50. And I said, well, it's not a lot of money, but hey, it's something. And also too, she says, oh, yeah, don't forget your tips. And I started thinking about it. And when I used to deliver pizza before, I found that my tips matched what I was making on commission per delivery. So let's say every week I'd be able to make about, working one night, sacrificing 3 or 4 hours of my life, about $100. So there's a possibility that I could save $400 a month. But let's just say I didn't make any tips in that. I only made $200 a month. What I say to you is take that $200, put it into your savings account. Forget that you earned it. It's not part of your budget. You put it aside. That's your saving capital for just a couple hours. And I'll tell you something, if you did that and you just decided to long-term say, you know something, I'm going to set up an account that earns me, let's say, 10%. Over 30 years, now, yeah, I'm not saying deliver pizza for 30 years, but at least start saving at least $200 a month. For 30 years, you'll have saved well over $400,000. And we're able to get a better interest rate, like somewhere closer to 15%. And you can, because that's the way I'm setting up my accounts right now, you can easily break $1 million after 30 years. So can you do it? Absolutely. So you got to start today. Stop with the excuses. Stop with all the things. I hope this video was helpful. And just start saving. Action, or I would have to say inaction, is your biggest enemy. Do not fall into the trap of analysis paralysis. Figure out something that you got to get it done, move forward. Figure out something else, get it done, figure it out, move on. Figure it out, move on. And every day is built upon the next day, step after step after step. So get at it, because I want to see you guys become wealthy, and I want to see you guys save millions of dollars. I want to hear the stories one day. I was able to save $1 million by following the advice that you've given us. I know it works. I was able to save over $100,000 in 14 months, and I'm well on my way to saving the second $100,000. So you can too. And if I can do it, you can do it, because boy, oh boy, I'm a real screw up when it comes to money, and I'm willing to testify to that. Frank Thomas here. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and like I said, subscribe and make sure you watch for the next video, because I got another one showing right here, and it's probably really interesting. Talk to you then. Bye-bye.